These garden features did not disappear because they stopped working. They disappeared because something newer came along. And most gardens have been worse ever since. 10 forgotten garden features worth bringing back, starting with number 10. Number 10. The cutting garden. There was a time when flowers were not just grown to be looked at. They were grown to be picked. A cutting garden was a dedicated bed chosen specifically for bringing indoors sweet peas, dahlias, cosmos, zinnias, sunflowers, not chosen for how they looked from the kitchen window, chosen for how they filled a vase on the dining table. Then gradually, we stopped. Fresh flowers became something we bought pre-cut in plastic wrapping, lasting about 4 days before the bin. Here is what most people never realize about a cutting garden. It changes the relationship between the house and the garden completely. The house changes week by week, depending on what is blooming outside. That is something no supermarket bunch of flowers has ever done for anyone. I helped a homeowner set up a small cutting bed, just a single sunny strip about 8 feet long. By midsummer, she was bringing flowers indoors every week and told me she had not bought flowers from a shop since April. A small sunny bed is all you need. Sweet peas alone are worth the effort. They reward constant cutting, and the more you pick them, the more they flower. If your garden has a sunny patch doing nothing useful right now, this is what should go in it. Number 9. Solves a problem most households deal with every single week, and most people are solving it in the most expensive and least effective way possible. Number 9. The herb wheel. The herb wheel used to appear in kitchen gardens everywhere. A circular bed divided into sections, like a sliced pie, each planted with something different. Rosemary, thyme, sage, oregano, parsley, chives. Practical, attractive, and efficient. Then supermarkets arrived with those small plastic herb pots near the checkout, and most people stopped growing their own entirely. Here is the problem with those supermarket pots that nobody puts on the label. They are grown in bulk under artificial light and already stressed by the time you buy them. Most are dead within 2 weeks. You are paying full price for a herb that is already on its way out. I designed a simple herb wheel for a client who spent around $15 a week on fresh herbs. She put the wheel in during spring. By summer, she had stopped buying herbs entirely, and by the end of the season, had saved more than the wheel cost to build. A circular bed about 6 feet across, divided into sections, placed as close to the kitchen door as possible. Keep mint in a buried pot within its section, otherwise it takes over everything around it within a season. That is a lesson most people only need to learn once. Number 8. Disappeared because people decided it looked too practical, and they have been losing their harvest to birds every summer ever since. Number 8. The fruit cage. Before soft fruit appeared on supermarket shelves year-round, most serious gardens had a fruit cage, a simple frame covered in netting, protecting raspberries, strawberries, currants, gooseberries, and blackberries. It became unfashionable. People decided it looked too functional, too allotment, so the netting came down. Here is what happens without protection, and anyone who has grown soft fruit without netting already knows this. You do all the work. You wait all season, and the birds harvest everything the morning before you were planning to pick it. I visited a garden where the homeowner had planted a full raspberry row the previous year. By July, the canes were loaded. She went out one morning and found almost nothing left. The birds had been through overnight. A basic fruit cage would have cost less than $50. Raspberries will produce reliably for years with almost no effort. Plant them once, net them properly, and they pay you back season after season. Nothing you buy in a shop compares to fruit picked warm from the garden on a summer afternoon. Number 7 is written off by most people as purely decorative, but it solves a design problem that expensive gardens still struggle with today. Number 7. The garden sundial. The sundial was a standard feature in gardens for centuries. Stone, cast iron, slate, placed carefully where sunlight could reach it through the day. Then plastic garden ornaments arrived, cheap, cheerful for about one season, and the sundial quietly disappeared. Here is what most people never realize about why a sundial actually matters. It has nothing to do with telling the time. It is about giving a garden a center. Walk into almost any garden that feels uncertain, and the problem is almost always the same. There is nowhere for the eye to settle. Without something to anchor the space, it never quite comes together. I walked through a garden where the homeowner had spent years and real money on planting and still felt something was missing. The borders were generous, the lawn immaculate, but no moment where you stopped. We placed a simple slate sundial at the intersection of the two main paths. She sent me a photograph 2 weeks later and said the garden finally felt finished. Identify the natural center of your garden and place something considered and permanent there. Unlike almost every other decorative feature, a sundial never needs maintenance. It just sits there looking permanent, and it costs nothing to run. Number 6 is a feature most gardens already have, but almost nobody is using in the way it was originally designed. Number 6. The pergola covered properly. Pergolas still exist in plenty of gardens. The problem is, most of them are completely bare. A timber frame, 4 posts, some crossbeams, sitting there looking like a structure waiting for something to happen. Here is what most people never knew. The original pergola was never designed to stay bare. It was designed to disappear. Wisteria overhead, climbing roses weaving through the uprights, clematis threading through everything, the timber becoming secondary, the planting becoming the actual structure. I revisited a garden 3 years after specifying a pergola with wisteria at each post. The timber had almost completely disappeared beneath the canopy. The homeowner was sitting underneath it with a coffee and told me it was the part of the garden she used every single day. Plant at each post the day the pergola goes up, not as an afterthought. Wisteria, climbing roses, and clematis are the most reliable choices. Within 3 years, the structure starts to disappear. Within 5, you have something no amount of money can replicate quickly. Number 5 disappeared because it was never photogenic enough, and gardeners have been paying for it in shorter growing seasons ever since. Number 5. The cold frame. Before garden centers sold ready-grown plants for everything, most serious gardens had a cold frame, a simple low structure with a clear lid, used for starting seeds early, rooting cuttings, and hardening off young plants. Here is what a cold frame gives you that nothing else does. Control over your growing season. You can sow weeks earlier than the open ground allows. You can extend the season at both ends of the year and overwinter plants that would not otherwise survive. I built one for a client from old timber and a salvaged window, under $30, and a weekend afternoon. The following spring, she started sowing 6 weeks earlier than the year before. She told me it changed how she gardened more than anything else she had ever added to the space. Old timber from a salvage yard, a second-hand window, basic hinges, and an afternoon. Position it against a south-facing wall to catch maximum heat. That is all it takes to extend your growing season by weeks at either end of the year. Number 4 does more for your garden's ecology than anything else you can add, and asks almost nothing of you once it is in. Number 4. The wildlife pond. A small pond used to be completely normal in the average garden, not an engineered water feature with pumps and filters, just water, still water, naturally planted. Simple, and very few things change a garden as dramatically. Here is what most people never anticipate. You do not need to introduce the wildlife. It finds you. Within days, insects arrive. Within weeks, frogs find it. Birds visit. Hedgehogs come to the edge on summer nights. Without doing anything more than digging a hole and filling it with water, your garden becomes part of the local ecosystem. I specified a simple wildlife pond for a suburban garden, about 6 feet across, no pump, no filter. The homeowner sent me a photograph 8 weeks later. There were frogs in it. The following spring, tadpoles. She had never seen either in 20 years of living at that property. Resist the urge to engineer it. Shallow edges on at least one side, native plants, and then leave it completely alone. Even a half barrel sunk into the ground makes a meaningful difference if space is tight. Number 3 looks technical from the outside, but it is one of the most rewarding things you can do with a bare fence or wall. Number 3. Espalier fruit trees. Few things in a garden look more impressive than a well-trained espalier, a fruit tree grown flat against a wall, horizontal branches in neat tiers, blossom in spring, fruit in summer, structure all year round. It looks like something requiring specialist knowledge. It is not. Here is what most people never find out, because the technique sounds intimidating. It takes patience, not skill. You tie, you prune, you wait, you tie again. The tree does most of the work. I trained an apple espalier against a 6-foot fence for a client convinced she could not do it herself. I showed her the first tie and first prune in year 1. She did everything after that on her own. 3 years later, she sent me a photograph of the fence in blossom. The fence had gone from a plain boundary to the most distinctive feature in the garden. Start with a young tree sold for espalier training. Plant it with horizontal wires in place at 18-inch intervals. Tie the first branches to the lowest wire. Remove everything else. Let the leader grow to the next wire. That is the whole technique in year 1. Number 2 looks like it takes more maintenance than anything else and actually takes less once properly established. Number 2. The cottage border. Somewhere in the last 20 years, garden planting got minimal. Clean lines, structural plants, plenty of gravel, space between everything, and it looks good in photographs. Here is what the minimal planting trend quietly replaced. Dense cottage-style borders suppress weeds far more effectively than any membrane and bark chip. Different root depths improve the soil over time. Continuous flowering from spring through autumn supports pollinators across the whole season. I redesigned a border for a homeowner who had been battling weeds in a sparse gravel bed for 3 years. We replanted it as a densely layered cottage border. The following season, she told me she had spent less time maintaining it than ever before. The ground cover had suppressed almost all the weed growth by itself. Plant generously and resist the urge to space things out. Cottage borders work by filling the ground so completely that weeds have nowhere to establish. The hard work is mostly in the first 2 years. After that, the garden does the rest. Number 1 is the feature worth bringing back more than anything else, and most people who have had one say exactly the same thing afterward. Number 1. The kitchen garden. Not a single raised bed with a few tomato plants. A real kitchen garden. A dedicated growing space planned around what the household actually eats. Vegetables, herbs, fruit, grown with intention, used in the kitchen, feeding real meals. For centuries, this was not a hobby. It was just part of how households worked. Then supermarkets made it unnecessary. Here is what disappeared along with it, that nobody talks about. It was not just food production. It was a connection between the kitchen and the soil, between daily meals and the seasons, between effort and reward, in a way that is genuinely difficult to replicate anywhere else. I helped a family set up a proper kitchen garden in a space they had been using as rough lawn. The following summer, their 9-year-old daughter grew a courgette from seed, watched it go from flower to vegetable, and ate it the same afternoon. Her mother told me she had never seen her daughter so engaged with food. The child started asking what was ready to pick before dinner every evening. That is something a supermarket cannot provide. A sunny spot, reasonable soil or raised beds, and a plan that starts small. That is all it takes. Most people who start one say the same thing afterward. They wish they had started sooner. These features did not disappear because they failed. They disappeared because we stopped making space for them. And most of them are simpler to bring back than people think. Which one would you bring back first? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this gave you something worth acting on, subscribe. There is a lot more coming from The Garden Company. I will see you in the next one.